Hi everyone. Let me shut off the rockin' music here.
I was kind of, I was dancing a little bit over here. I was like, I had the mood set for it.
Yes. Just getting us all ready to go for today's webinar. Awesome. Well, I'm Tanya. I'm with Grow Nebraska, and I just want to welcome everyone to our webinar today. And I have my co-host here.
Hi, everybody. I am Cami. I am the Director of Services at Grow Nebraska, and we hope that you guys are also jamming out, getting ready for the awesome webinar we have in store. We have our keynote speaker for MarketTech 2025 here with us live. So consider this just a sneak peek at what is to come. And if you didn't catch that slide, MarketTech is coming up March 25th and 26th. We had a sellout crowd last year. We're planning on that again. It's not too late, but you've got to get your seat today. So make sure that you find that registration, get it booked. If you have any questions, reach out to Tanya and I. We're happy to answer them. But we wanted to give everyone a sneak peek at our keynote because we are ecstatic to bring her to Nebraska. And so it's stop stressing over video. It's simple content that can convert. And so how practical in this day and age. And so I am going to now let Tanya take it over before we let Chelsea to introduce some of our sponsors and our partners that help make all of this happen and to bring her to Nebraska.
Awesome. So our featured sponsor of the month is Dawson Public Power, and they from 143 miles from their headquarters in Lexington, in that range, they do have an economic developer. His name is Dave, and they're there to help your business. And so they help with local economic development. They also have funding you could potentially apply for. And so definitely go take a look at Dawson Public Power's website and get connected with Dave. He is there to assist your business and your growth. And definitely, he's a great guy and will meet you right where you're at. So get connected. And we'd like to thank them for being a partner of ours as well. And then our featured member of the month is Creative Advantages. Abby has been a member with us since 2022. She has a great team of people. She helps with social media and marketing efforts. And so if you're looking to ever take that off your plate and put it on someone else's, Abby is your gal to get a hold of for that. And then I'll pass it back here to Cami.
Yes, so without further ado, we want to welcome Chelsea Pites to our webinar. And we are going to have some interactive chat happening. So get familiar and don't be shy. We want to hear from you throughout the webinar. Tanya and I will be monitoring it. So we want to kind of get to know who's out there. And feel free to, if you've seen the slide about, what movie speaks to your business, drop that in the chat and we'll just have a fun webinar. The next 30 to 45 minutes is yours, Chelsea. So I'm going to pass it over.
Yay, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is the vulnerability of making videos. And before we dive in, I just want to give you a little backstory. It seems like, oh, you're so comfortable on video, or I'm watching your videos, and it can feel really overwhelming when we're talking about the world of social media and marketing. As a small business owner, I am myself a small business owner. And I'm in the service industry specifically, and I focus on helping service experts and salespeople and entrepreneurs and personal brands to use social media in a way that feels doable and aligned. I am a proud Gen Xer, friends. I got my first real full-time adult career before social media existed. I actually was a real estate agent for many, many years. And I got my license in 2001 BF. The BF is before Facebook. So I did business the old-fashioned way for many years because that's all we had. And so What my specialty now is, I sort of jokingly refer to myself as a social media therapist because if we're being honest, especially if you're like me, you're an elder millennial, you're a Gen Xer, you're a boomer, we remember the days of no such thing as social media. And it can feel extraordinarily overwhelming. We feel very frenzied with all of the information that's coming in every direction. And I'm excited you're here today specifically because when we all meet in person at the event next month, we're going to be focusing more on the specific overviews of social media and personal branding. So this is really special because you get to ask any question you want, and we may not have time to get to everyone's questions live. And also, you're going to be hearing from such amazing speakers. You're going to be overwhelmed with the information. And so this is a really nice opportunity to really focus in on sort of one area, but we really get frenzied with all the things, right? We get excited, we go to an event like Grow and Market Tech, and then we get there and we're like, we're going to do all of these things. And then there's so many things to do, plus our actual jobs and families that we just don't do anything. So that's our goal today in bringing you several of these pre-sessions. So we're also feeling, if I'm being quite honest, pretty exposed in an online world because, you might be like me, where believe it or not, I am actually an introvert. I play an extrovert on TV, but I'm an introvert. I'm a hermit. I jokingly say I don't people, I person. I'm a private person. And, that can be scary to get on social media and feel like, well, I want to be a likable human that's going to attract more people into my business to do business with me. But I also don't want to become one of those annoying oversharers. I don't want to document my whole day, right? I don't want to be a full-time content creator. And then we feel awkward. And that's what we're going to talk a lot about today on video. Like, how do we overcome the cringe, right? And why do we feel awkward? I'm going to explain that to you because I guarantee you've never had anybody actually explain it like this. And last but not least, and I'd love to hear from y'all in the chat. So you can just drop a yes or a no. Is anybody feeling a little resentful out there that in 2025, like you're really good at your craft, you're really good at what you do and how you service and help people? And if we're being honest, I kind of feel like I've got to be like a full-time digital marketer first and then do this great thing that you have a passion for. So if anybody's feeling any of those, feeling awkward or overwhelmed or frenzied or exposed, let me know so that I know where everybody's at in this world. Going into the chat to take a look here. I see that Cami and Tanya have given you some information. Thank you. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Kirsten? It might be Kirsten. I'm sorry. Yes, you're feeling that way. Sierra's like, yeah, absolutely. Well, you've come to the right place. Before I got into what I'm doing now, which was many, 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 many decades ago, I was going to be a therapist. And highly emotional, empathic, and sensitive, figured probably not a great idea for me to be crying all day in my office with my clients. So I did the next best thing, which is basically now helping people get through the vulnerable challenges of being on social media, especially for their business. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. I need you to help me out though. I need you to tell me just a word. You don't have to type out a whole paragraph, but it will help me to know what kind of businesses y'all have. So if you're a service provider, if you're a realtor, please let me know what you do, what your industry is, so that I can keep that in mind as I'm talking and, giving examples. Bookkeeping, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Packaged food products, social media marketing, yay, farm to table. Oh, I love it. Health service, yes. Retail yarn and crafts, thank you. I love that it is all over the place. That's so amazing and wonderful. Small town retail, ooh, mobile haunted house, wow. Once upon a time, I actually lived in a haunted house. It was accidental. We did not know that we were moving into one. Health and CBD, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Okay, let's just dive right in. I will eventually share some slides, but I just want to have a conversation with you, right? I just want to talk about the limiting beliefs that we often have around social media in general, and specifically how we show up online. Now, a lot of you are going to have products that you are going to be sharing, right? So if you have, for example, if we're doing retail yarn and crafts, well, you'll likely have a lot of content on social media about your store, about the items in your store, about the crafting experience, right? So it may be beyond just the personal brand. Some of you are going to be the product, right? You are going to have the personal brand. So regardless of where you're at in that journey, the strategies that I will teach will work for anyone, any brand, any service. So the first thing that I want to talk about is limiting beliefs, right? And one of the things that I've worked on for many years, and I'm one of the few people in the world who's actually researched and written a book about this, is how human beings connect to other people and build trust for businesses, brands, and products online through social media. And one of the things that I know is the reason that many of us are frustrated with our results on social media, especially if you are the product, right? The one big challenge is how are we showing up online and how is it aligned with or very different from how we would show up offline? So, one little sentence I have everybody write down is, what would you do in real life? What would you do in real life? Right? So if we ran into somebody that was a customer that we worked with before, well, we'd probably stop and say hello, chat about the weather, check in to see what's going on in their lives. And so this idea gets really convoluted and confusing when we get into the world of social media, because in social media, often, especially if you didn't grow up with it like me, we often think of technology as sort of not real life, right? We think of it as, well, it's social media, so I don't really need to show up in the same way. So let me just give you an example. One of the big fears that all of us have, all of us, including me, who, by the way, I didn't watch my own videos back for 5 years. I don't recommend that strategy. I would have gotten so much better, so much quicker if I had taken the time to consume my own content. We call that exposure therapy. But I just knew myself and I knew that I would pick it apart, that I would get overcome and overwhelmed with the cringe, and I would stop making videos. So we are going to get to videos. We're going to talk about that. This little part is important because how we show up online is usually very different than how we show up offline. So the example of, I don't like how I look or sound on camera. I don't know whose voice that is that's coming out of my body. When I watch it back, it's uncomfortable, it's awkward. I would not want my friends and family to see this because they'd be like, who is this person? The idea of, well, I don't like how I look or sound on video, so therefore I'm not really going to make any, and I don't need to make any for social media. But what would you do in real life? What if we actually were sitting across from each other at the local coffee shop and or your store? Or maybe you're in my home because your service is something where you come to me and talk about how we can work together. Either way, we're sitting at a table together and maybe I ask you a question, but instead of you answering the question with your expertise and knowledge, you dive under the table. And I'm left wondering what is happening? Is everything okay down there? And then you're shouting up from under the table and you're like, "Hey, I know this sounds a little bit weird, but I just have difficulty with people watching me or looking at me directly when I'm talking to them," right? So we all probably are chuckling thinking, yeah, we wouldn't do that. But yet we get on social media and we think, I don't need to show up there. I don't need to show my face. They don't need to know me. And in some of your cases, they may not. I will tell you that the science shows that even if you have products, right? You having a human being in the content, whether it's your voice and you're narrating something or you're creating a video where you are doing a voiceover, having elements of the human beings who are on your team and staff, that accelerates digital trust. So the idea that we never going to show up on video on social media isn't really logical when it comes to how we show up in the real world. Because I tell people, are you going to cancel all of your in-person meetings? Probably not, right? So those are some of the limiting beliefs that I know people have. We also, a big one, I saw we have bookkeeping in here, right? I work with a lot of people in mortgage. I work with a lot of people in insurance. And those aren't super exciting topics, right? And so you might be thinking, oh, but my topic is so boring. Like, yeah, I see all these people making content and it's very relaxing and these beautiful befores and afters and these DIY crafts and beautiful recipes and cute dogs. But I talk about bookkeeping and how can I compete with that? So I totally understand where you're at. And here's the thing. There are absolutely ways to make that content that you might think is boring into more entertaining, humanized, personality-driven content. And if your personality is serious and introverted, then we love that. Bring on that personality. You should be who you are in person on your actual videos. So some of those limiting beliefs are sort of what keep us from showing up online. Now, the big one about video, and this is the part that probably nobody's ever told you before. I love scripting a lot of my videos. When I'm creating an Instagram reel, right? Or even if it's a Facebook reel or a TikTok, something that I'm creating that's going to be expertise driven. Maybe you're going to teach somebody about the benefits of farm to table or the differences in different types of yarns for different types of projects. That would be more of like an educational or an expertise driven kind of video. You're probably going to be talking to the camera, right? So one of the big challenges that trips us up when we see ourselves back on the video that we recorded, especially if you've prepared or if you've memorized a script, or some of you may have even tried reading a teleprompter. I've tried all of the above. And I will tell you that the number one thing for all of my clients has been this one little tiny shift. It's not that we don't like how we look or sound on video. Generally speaking, we don't like how we look or sound on video when we're reading because these little micro things happen. These little micro movements that we make when we're talking to people in real life tend to stop in a video. So like here's an example, right? Like let's imagine I'm going to talk about my health service, okay? And I'm going to do some educational video, maybe a short little video, maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 90 seconds, something like that. I'm going to make that video. I'm just going to pull out my phone. I use my phone for all my videos. I don't use a fancy camera. I have all the fancy lights, but to be honest with you, there's nothing that beats sunlight. And yes, if you need to use a lamp with the shade off, you can do that too. I'm kind of an excuses person, so I find that if I get too many things involved, like lighting and mics and a studio set, I will just not make the video. Especially if I travel or my day gets away from me, I'll say, oh, you know what, I'll make it next week because I don't have my setup. I use my phone for everything. I record all my videos directly on my phone. I actually record my videos most of the time inside of whatever platform I'm posting it to. So let's just go with Instagram. I will record my video directly inside of Instagram. I don't use any fancy equipment. I don't use any fancy lenses. I do have a little microphone that I got cheap on Amazon. I actually have an entire techie stuff page on my resources page on my website, which is just chelseapites.com. And you can go there. It'll take you to an Amazon list. You don't need all that stuff. But if you're like wondering what I'm using every now and then, that's what I'm using. But I don't have an excuse with my phone because we always have it, right? We always have it. So now what happens is, let's imagine I've got my phone set up. Maybe it's on a tripod, which is kind of fancy. Maybe I just propped it up on my shelf because I got shelves back here, right? It's totally fine. Just whatever way you do it, right? So I've got my phone. And so then what happens when we're standing in front of the phone? Well, we're trying not to move out of frame like this, right? Now, some of you might be making videos where you're showing your brick and mortar store or you're showing something happening. Well, then there's probably going to be some movement in there. You might have to, position yourself in the frame. But by and large, if you're talking to the camera like this and you're doing some sort of educational tip or something like that, you're probably not moving much. And so what happens in real life is that we move, right? We move when we talk to people. We don't even realize it, right? I don't even realize it when I'm doing it here, but I know that I'm doing it. So what happens is we get in front of that phone and then we're not moving. And it's kind of unnatural to just talk and not move at all, right? And then what happens is, I know this sounds funny, friends, but one of the big ways that you can humanize and get more energy into your videos, I know this sounds so strange, even if it's bookkeeping, I promise you, Abel, even if it's bookkeeping, is including your hands in the video. It's such a strange thing, but let me tell you psychologically what's happening. So I'm a keynote speaker. I speak all over. I've taken all kinds of like keynote trainings, and they teach you about like tonality and moving your body and blah, 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 blah. One of the things that I remember learning was to show your audience your hands as you come onto stage. Now, why? So in our brains, totally subconscious, we don't actually know that this is happening. But like if you've ever gone to a really big conference, like a Tony Robbins or something like that, it's like some big, famous person coming out, they probably walk out and they're like waving or they're like this with their hands up, right? And psychologically, we're like, oh, I can see your hands and I can see the insides. You're safe, right? Like you're not, like a caveman animal that's gonna, jump out. Now, obviously, this is not something we're consciously thinking of, but the hands are actually a really important element. And I try to include my hands in all of my videos, to be quite honest. And I know that sounds weird. It's a weird little thing that actually helps. And you might see some people holding like little microphones, right? Like this is obviously a pen, but you might see people holding microphones, and that's honestly another way to get your hands in the video. But what happens when we're standing in front of that phone? We're not moving because we don't move out of frame. We're not having any hands. And then it's just like this weird floating top of the head, right? And then the next thing that happens is, we'll just stick on the bookkeeping example here. Maybe there's like something that you want to tell people is really important you do before the end of the year, or something having to do with, prepping your year ahead, whatever that tip is going to be, right? So of course, in your head, you're thinking, well, I mean, I probably should be a bit prepared. And if you're like me, you might love to write everything out in kind of like a script. I love scripts. You might use Chat GPT to go in there and kind of help you write a script. So what we've been trained to do since little kids is sort of like memorize that script in our head so that we hit every bullet, right? Now, maybe some of you are not recording yourselves. Maybe you've hired a videographer and you've had that experience before. And that almost adds even more pressure because you know somebody's waiting on you and you want to kind of nail this because you don't want to have to re-record and re-record. And I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever done something like me, and I call it rage re-recording, where you are a different person on take number 30 than you were on take number 1, 2, and 3, and you're just like, just get through this. I don't even care what I say. We're doing this. Let's finish this video. If that's relatable, let me know because I have totally been there. So these little micro things of we're not moving our body, we don't have our hands, we're not, gesturing. And then what happens is when we're memorizing, when we're reading in our brain, this part of our brain that's controlling the reading and like the memorization part, like I may not be reading a teleprompter, but I'm thinking about what is bullet point number 2 or sentence number 3, and our brain can only sort of do one thing at a time. So then all the facial warmth cues that normally happen when we're talking to people, and maybe our eyebrows are moving and maybe we're smiling, those kind of go away. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but I know I have so many times where I look back at a video and I'm like, I kind of look like I'm mad. Like, is that what I look like when I'm talking to people? Probably not. But when we're thinking, right, when we're memorizing, it's much harder to emote in our faces as well. And then if you've written something out, like I often do, one of my best tips is if you're going to write out a script or even bullet points, or maybe you're just writing out your first like hook sentence to open up your video, I always read it out loud. And I find that I don't write like I talk. And so what happens is if we're kind of going through a whole script, if you will, or a couple of bullet points in our head and we've written it out, we probably have a bit of reading tone. Like, when you read something out loud, it kind of sounds like I'm stuck in this read aloud type of thing. So when you put all those little tiny things together, the fact that you're not moving, the fact that you're staring straight ahead, you don't have your hands, right? And then you're kind of like, eyes are sort of like just staring, right? Because your brain's thinking. And then your face is kind of like this. And then you're kind of talking like you're reading because you want to get all those points. And then what happens is you watch that video back. And if you've gotten all the points, all the bullets, all the word for word, but you still are like, I don't know. Like it doesn't really feel like me. It feels a little awkward. I'm letting you all know it's not you. It's not your content. Your content isn't broken. You're not broken. One of the things that I find helps so many people, especially if you love to script like I do, is not memorizing. Okay, so the next question comes up. Okay, Chelsea, we get it. Like I can relate to these things. Like I feel that way too when I watch my videos back. But how do I actually make a video where I've scripted and not memorize it? So here's my little trick. And if you are not sure how to do this, I can pull up a little video example. I can even maybe mirror my phone and I can show you all how to do this. Like I mentioned earlier, I just use my phone and I just make the videos inside of whatever app I'm using. So some of you may be using TikTok, some of you may be using Facebook, some of you may be using Instagram. This works on all of them. Even though I keep saying Instagram, I'm just saying Instagram so I don't have to say all the platform names at once, right? So I will open up Instagram and I will start recording myself. And if you're going to make a little Instagram reel, I'll go to Instagram Reels. I'll just open up, it opens up to the camera. And what's really cool is that there's a button there and you can press and hold it to record. That's not the cool part. The cool part is that when my finger is on it and I'm holding it down to record, right? And I'm saying something, my first sentence, I can actually take my finger off and it's going to hold my spot. That little sentence I just recorded, that doesn't disappear. So what I used to do is I would get so stressed and like memorize everything, right? And it would show and you could hear it, you could feel it, you could see it in my videos. And that's why I didn't like them. I felt like something was off, but I couldn't pinpoint it. Now, because of the beauty of these apps that have editing inside of them, you don't have to record a video all in one go. So that's my big secret. Like my big tip is I usually record to this day all of my videos in clips, if you will. When I say clips, I'm giving you the the hyphen or the hyphens or not the hyphens, the quotation marks because it's not really necessarily a clip. I'm just recording one sentence at a time or one thought. If you don't like to script and you're like, okay, I know I'm going to do like 3 scenes. I want to show the food, before it gets to the table and before it's cooked. I want to show it while it's cooking and then I want to show it like the finished product. You can record each one of those and it does the magic for you and stitches it all together. So that's why I love making the videos inside of social media. You could use this with an app. Some of you may have heard of CapCut. You may be using InShot. It does not matter which app you use. I don't really record in an app because, again, I already called myself out earlier. I tend to come up with an excuse. And if I remove all the excuses and I'm like, nope, I don't need to use an app. I have my phone. I can go right into Instagram or right into Facebook. And if I press and record, I can say one thought at a time. I do not have the stress of having to hit every one. If I make a mistake on the third little time, maybe my third sentence, my third clip, I can just delete that and re-record it, but I still have the other ones. So that stress of having to get it all in one take and be perfect, that might be the big holdup for you when it comes to how you are showing up on the video, okay? And yeah, it's true. It feels super weird, but I did have to amp up the energy a little bit more when I was recording. And just because you're practicing and amping up your energy and it feels kind of weird and awkward doesn't mean you actually have to post that video. It's an exercise for you to see and to prove that, oh, even if I feel a little bit awkward in real life as I'm amping it up a little bit more than I feel like I normally would, what actually comes out on the video feels pretty natural. Another tip I have for you is this is kind of another weird one. I've got 2 weird ones, but it works. One thing that I recommend doing is, let's say you've recorded your video. You can even go through old videos that you have already posted and look at this, but I always tell people, one, watch your video with no sound. watch your video with no sound. And then you want to listen to your video. I actually turn the phone over so I cannot see it. You want to listen to your video without watching it. Now, why? Because when we're watching and listening at the same time, it's too much for our brain. And then what I find is when I'm not watching, my big tip is when I don't watch and I just listen, I can pick up if I'm like, yeah, that sounds a little flat or it sounds like I'm reading, but I didn't get it the first time. So one of the things that I used to do a lot when I was trying to practice being more of myself on video is I would watch it with no sound and then I would listen without watching it. And my last weird tip is what I call the walk and talk. If you are nervous about making videos, and I'll actually give you some stair-stepping tips because if you've never made a video before, actually, I'd love to know. Is anyone here making regular videos? Like, let's just do 1 to 3. One, I've made a video like under duress. Somebody told me I had to do it, but I don't really do it. Maybe 2, you're sort of making videos. 3, you're like, I love video is my jam. Like, let me know where you're at on that scale. 1 to 2, thank you. Only practice. Okay, cool. 1, 2, I'm gonna have to go with 0. Oh, thank you for the honesty. Yes, I love it. Okay. So I'm going to give you some stair steps, okay, in how we can work up to making a video we're going to post to the world. Because, like, let's be honest, it is vulnerable. Like, the idea of making content, it's one thing to make content about a product that you might be sharing, right? People love to see your products, but they also want to see the human behind the business. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, I don't want to be in it, right? Why? Why don't we want to be in our own content? Well, it's vulnerable because humans innately have a need to be loved and affirmed and belong. And it's kind of scary to make a video with you in it and then serve it out to the world where people can comment on it, right? And really more, we might be worried like, oh, what if so-and-so that I went to high school with sees this? And, that so-and-so isn't even actually leaving you a comment. You're just making it up in your mind, right? But that is a very real fear. So I'll give you some stair steps on, hey, let's not maybe start with Reels. Let's not maybe start with TikToks. Let me give you a few things that y'all can do to even get to that. So that's coming next. But I want to finish my walk and talk. Another weird thing about the brain, if you're out walking, making a video, which you might be like, there's no way I'm going to be in public and make a video. You can be in your house. Like I just made a little walking, talking video in my stories. I was just walking in my house. Your brain is going to make sure you're not falling, right? So what happens is when you're moving, you do feel more natural because you're moving. That makes everything look more human, but also it's going to calm you down a little bit. So I have a client who loves to do a walk and talk, take their dog for a walk and make some videos. Sometimes they make videos that they actually share with the world. Sometimes they just make videos that they send to friends and clients. And that habit has gotten them much more comfortable on the camera. Because when you are walking and talking, your brain's thinking of, well, let me keep you upright and make sure you don't fall. So you're not thinking about how do I look, how do I sound, what do I say, right? So that's another weird little way to kind of trick your brain to get in the reps so that you don't have to feel so stressed like I used to, where I would sweat and I had no idea what I said on the video because I just like had an out of body experience and I was like, nope, not watching it back. Don't want to see it. It just put it up there. And you know what? I really would have gotten a lot better faster if I took the time to actually give myself the feedback, right? But do what you need to do. Be self-aware enough. If that's too cringe for you and you won't do it, that's fine. So before I get into the mechanics, right, and get deep dive into this technical stuff, I do want to address like the ones or the zeros and give you maybe a stair step of something that might help you get into the world of making a video on YouTube or a TikTok or a reel, right? Because that is kind of scary to go from 0 to that. So here's my favorite little process. One is how about instead of making a video for the world, what if you start with making a video for one person? So who's the one person, right? Like who is this? If you are connected with your clients, your clientele online, that would be who you're going to make that one video for. This is past clients, current clients. It could be local other businesses that you support and serve. It could be if you're in a business where people give you referrals. Maybe you have a local business and you get business referrals from other people in different states. It would be those people. It could be ancillary partners. And the cool thing about this is that you don't need anyone's phone number. You don't need anyone's email. Like if you're following them and they're in your community on, say, Facebook, you can easily use Facebook Instant Messenger to send them a quick little video. Now, what's the video going to be about? I call it visual Hallmark cards. Like this is like a thank you. Hope you get well soon. Happy birthday. Congratulations. Like some of you like to celebrate your clients' anniversaries for maybe like they just closed on a house. So this would be somebody that you know, like, and trust, right? This is somebody that if you run into them at Target, like you're actually going to know their name and say hello. This is not for strangers. Okay. You could do this, I guess, with strangers, but for me, I would feel that would up the anxiety level. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel safe opening up your phone and talking to it without a script and without worrying about how you look. And so one of the ways that I did that is I would start with sending little one-to-one videos to people for birthdays, anniversaries, thank yous, congratulations, I hope you're doing well, whatever it was, holidays, etc., like a little Hallmark card. And what I found is that these little tiny videos were easier for me to make than the videos about my business because one, I wasn't stressed about a script. Like if I'm saying thank you to someone or happy birthday, guess what? We all know what to say, right? And I dare you to say happy birthday or thank you to someone and not smile. It's really hard. It's really hard, right? So now we're putting ourselves in this environment where I'm associating my talking to my camera and I don't have to use a script. I don't have to be stressed about it. If I need my emotional support buddy and I need to go walk my dog and do a little birthday thing while I have my dog with me, that's fine too. People love a dog and they'll love to see the birthday wish from you and the dog. But there's all these little things that can help us sort of get that exposure therapy of I don't always need to have a script. I don't have to worry that I won't know what to say. You know what to say when it's someone you know, and it's something nice like a little visual Hallmark card. And then this other cool thing happens. Like when you watch that video back, you're like, yeah, maybe it's not like the best lighting, but I kind of sound and look like me, right? Because we're not like in our heads with the script and you're probably moving and you're doing something nice for someone else. And don't we all want to do something nice for someone else? It gives us this hit of dopamine. It makes us feel good. And guess what? Your little message just made someone's day, right? When I get a message, I just got a message in my DMs and Instagram. It was the sweetest, kindest message. And I was like, thank you for making my whole week. Really, it's a small little act of kindness, right? It's totally free. We don't need someone's phone number. We don't need someone's email. We can literally just send it in a few seconds. And so as I would do this, I would make this a game where every day I would send 3 to 5 little one-to-one videos on a social media platform to someone. And it never talked about what I did. It was, hey, happy birthday. Hey, congratulations. I saw your post about blah, 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 blah. Hey, just thinking of you, right? And here's a really cool thing that started happening because now I'm going to bring in the algorithms, right? The software about how these social media platforms work. The more you talk to someone, the more they see your future content. So if it's one thing I'd have you take away from today, even though we're focused on video, if you never make a video and never post it to any social media platform, that's okay. You can still use social media as a vehicle, as a communication platform to send someone a message where they're active, where they're paying attention, and make their day. And then what happens is the algorithm starts to notice who you're talking to. And it says, wait a minute, every time Tanya and Cami post something, Chelsea likes it. Chelsea maybe shares it. Chelsea leaves a comment. Every time they send a DM, Chelsea replies. And so then the algorithm says, you know what we should do? We are going to reshuffle all of these people's feeds. Like the 3 of us that are on this call, we're going to reshuffle their feeds so that when Chelsea posts next week, and it's not a message for Cami or Tanya, but it's just, a post that's going out to the world, we're going to make sure that post is up higher in their feeds, and we're going to make sure that we show it to them. So the whole point of social media really isn't necessarily about your content. And this is what I'm going to talk a lot about at the keynote. It's really about what I call your context. And context, part of that is your communications, right? I don't care what industry you're in, what business you have, sales and marketing has always been how many relationships have you built? How many people have you talked to? How many people have you told what you do? Communication. So these are incredible communication tools, you guys, that are totally free. 25 years ago, we didn't have these. I had to leave somebody a 1-minute voicemail, wait for them to listen to it, call me back, plan a coffee meetup, and drive there, right? Nowadays, we have an ability to connect with people for free, that we don't need their phone number, and we don't even need their email. Now, here's the one thing, because you might be thinking, yeah, that's kind of a cool idea. And I guarantee if you just do this one thing for a whole year, you'll send me a DM in a year and say, this changed my business. Promise you. It's worked for the last 15 years. And it's amazing that there's always one person that's like, I did that. I did that thing where you said to talk to people through the DMs and in the comments. And I'm telling you, it's changed my business. Just that alone. But anyway, so you're sending this video through instant messenger or whatever, right? But you're like, but why not through text? Yeah, text is awesome, right? Mailing is awesome. Everything works. But text messages do not work harder and smarter for your future content. Meaning, if I send a text message to Cami saying happy birthday, it's a little video, she's like, oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. That's it. It ends there. If I send it to her on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, guess what happens? The algorithm says, oh, we saw you guys talking. So now we're going to make sure that you guys see each other's content. So when I do post something in 2 weeks, she'll see it, right? See what I'm saying there? So that's how I started with those one-to-one videos. Then when you're ready, I would say move over to stories. So if you're on Facebook, that's Facebook stories. If you're on Instagram, that's Instagram stories. They're both called stories. That's another really great way to build up your muscle of getting out your phone and talking to it with no script and no plan. Literally just sort of documenting your day. Like, what are you doing today? What are you putting together for a client? What are you working on? What's your team doing? Just things that you think are boring, that are going to sort of document your day, right? Why are we going to do stories? Because you need to build the muscle of talking to your camera and also just talking like it's FaceTime, like it's a friend. And I'll just be honest with you, I'd rather do stories than reels and videos all day long. Why? Because I don't have to think of like the structure that I'm about to give you for a video, right? I don't have to think of a hook. I don't have to edit. I just get on and talk like I'm talking to my friends, right? So it's faster, it's easier, it's a whole lot less stress. Also, stories disappear after 24 hours. So if you're confused about stories, what goes in the story, what goes in the feed, let me explain it right now. They have different goals. You put them together and they make one really great strategy. So stories on Facebook and Instagram. Once upon a time, LinkedIn had stories, but they took them away. TikTok has stories too, but they're not as big as like, say, on Instagram. But anyway, stories are going to be content that disappears after 24 hours, right? So the idea behind it truly was intended to be like real life, real-time shared experiences, meaning after today's call, yes, you can go back and watch the recording, but if you don't watch the recording, like this conversation no longer exists. It was designed to get people to pay attention to your content, like in real life, so that they would tune in. And if they didn't tune in, they were going to miss what happened a day before. The nice thing psychologically about content that disappears is there's no pressure. It's not like you're having to make this masterpiece of this, beautiful reel that's edited in all of these posts and carousels. That can somewhat feel overwhelming. The other thing is there's no requirement for like storytelling. I call it the kitchen sink. You can just show whatever you want. You want to show your coffee in the morning, then you go to the office, then you show your dog, like everything goes. And so it's a way for you to get more comfortable and get more reps in talking to your phone without a script and being very casual. That's what really took my video game from A to Z, was stories. And I do them daily. I do them daily now because I love it. And I always say, lean into what you love. If you don't love making long form videos, if you don't love making TikToks or reels, Start with what you love first. That's why I always tell people, be a super fan first. Talk to people. Maybe you're not sending them a one-to-one video, but you're sending them a voice message or a DM, or you're commenting on their stories, or you're sharing their content. That is going to trigger the algorithm. It's going to train it so that they see your future content. And it is absolutely going to be something that builds more mind share and relationships, because people aren't going to remember what you posted 2 weeks ago in the feed. They will remember the conversations that you had, especially about their content and about their lives in the DMs. So stories is really for you to practice, to play, to be casual. It's also to have one-on-one conversations in the DMs versus a post that's public, especially if there's anyone who's in mortgage or financial. Like, that's a big topic, right? That's a big topic that people have to think about. They may not know the right questions to ask. They may feel silly asking a question that they're like, oh, I should probably know this. They may not put that in a public comment. But in a one-to-one environment, they're more likely to ask those kinds of questions. So stories are for community, nurturing, conversion. Videos that you're putting out to, say, like YouTube or the feed on LinkedIn or Instagram, those are not only going to be seen by your community that follows you, but it's a chance for you to get recommended to people that don't follow you. So I use the reels to not only nurture my current community, but to also get potential reach, potential growth, more visibility. Because somebody who's Googling a question about bookkeeping may find that. And so everything is a search engine, right? So that's the really important thing to know, that the feed posts are really to nurture your current community, but also to help you grow, get more visibility, reach. Okay. You're not going to get any reach or growth from just using your stories, because only the people that follow you see it. Right. And some of you might be like, I love that. I'm by referral only. I love just talking to my community. That's totally fine. There's not one wrong or right way to do it. I just want you to know how each one works. And if you put them together, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You're going to get some reach and growth over here, and you're also going to get some community and conversion and nurturing. So the stair step effect that I was talking about is start with one-to-one videos. If you're not ready to go to reels, that's okay. Start with one-to-one videos, private, only one person sees it. You're going to make their day. Visual Hallmark card. It's going to feel great, right? Then you're going to move to stories, either on Facebook or Instagram. I would start doing that 30, 60, maybe 90 days. And then maybe you move to reels. I also recommend live video. Now, I know you might be thinking, ooh, live video sounds much scarier than a recorded video. But what I will tell you is that there is an element of when you go live and you're like, well, I'm live, so now I actually have to talk, right? That kicks in and you start talking. I would recommend that if you are going to go live, bring a friend, do an interview. Think of it like a podcast, because when you are with someone else and you are interviewing them, it could be a client, it could be somebody that comes to your classes, it could be a team member that works with you that's on your team. You stop thinking about you and you're here asking them questions. And so you get into the rhythm and you feel a little bit more natural. That's another really good way to step up into video. And then I kind of think of, okay, the pinnacle is the TikToks or the Reels and the YouTube, right? Because that's going to take a little bit more time. You're probably going to have to edit a little bit. You're going to have to think about a hook. So if maybe you're not ready to go over here, try some of the other things first. Okay. All right. So now that we've talked about that, I'm going to give you a structure for your videos. But before I do that, if you're like me and you love a to-do list, like you love a template, like you like to write things down on the list that you've already done simply so you can cross it off, I totally relate to that. I'm that person. And I remember people giving me like templates and guides, and they would have like 5 steps, 25 steps, 150 steps, whatever. And I felt like unless I followed it to the T, I was going to fail. And then I wouldn't even do it. Or it would take me like 5 hours to make like a 30-second video. The structure I'm going to give you, pick one thing. Pick one thing. I don't want you to get mired down in, I got to get this, I got to get this, and then spend 7 hours making a 60-second video that you're going to put on social media. I did not start with all of these things. This is after a lot of years of practice and trying things. So when I show you this and show you my screen, I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Okay. Just pick one thing and we'll go from there. Let me pull this up here. We're going to share. Okay, slideshow. Get here. Get from current slide. Okay, this is the structure that I generally try to follow and give my clients when they're creating a short form vertical video, like a YouTube short, a reel, TikTok. It's all the same. They have different names, but they're literally all the same. Generally speaking, I'm making short videos that are educational in nature, and I'm answering commonly asked questions or unasked questions. A lot of questions that I get in my webinars, questions that I get when I meet with clients face to face or at workshops. I will create content about that. And you're probably creating content about your product, your service, what they need to know, DIYs, how to create something, whatever your particular service is. And so if we want to get hopefully more watch time, because watch time is really big for the algorithm, that's what they're mainly looking at. Are people watching a lot of your video? Maybe they're not watching the whole thing, but are they watching just the first 2 seconds and skipping? That's not good. Are they watching halfway? Are they watching the whole thing, which is really good? So how do we try to structure our videos so that we get the maximum amount of watch time? So as I put these up here, I don't want anybody to panic. You're welcome to take a picture. This is a lot of stuff and you do not need to do all of these things, okay? Oops, so sorry, my apologies. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is how do you open your video? Like, what are you saying? What are you doing? We call that a hook, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, the easiest hook you could ever do is literally just start talking. Now, what we probably don't want to do is we don't want to start with an introduction. Hi, everyone. Hi, LinkedIn. Hi, Instagram. This is Chelsea Pites, and today we're talking about blah, 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 blah. Why don't we want to do that? It's not that you can't have an intro, right? It's that, remember, a lot of these videos, depending on which platform you're on, if you're on TikTok, these people do not follow you, the majority. If you're on Facebook or Instagram Reels, like the Reels tab, like the Reels feed, you don't know those people. Like they're sending you all this content from people you don't know. If you're on my main Instagram feed, half of the content I'm seeing is from people I don't know. So your videos are going out to people that may not follow you. And if they don't follow you and they don't know you and they don't like you and they don't trust you yet, they're probably not going to stay for your intro and you're going to lose them. So instead of having that intro, what we're going to do is we're just going to start talking. And the best hook that I can give you that is so simple, you can go to all these places. You can go to my website, you can go to ChatGPT, you can get like 3,000 different hooks to, keep people watching. That's easy to find online. But the simplest one, friends, is to ask a question and use the word you. Ask a question and use the word you. So I know I keep talking about bookkeeping. I'm not trying to ignore any of the other, so I'm giving a lot of love there. But it could be like, you know what the number one question my clients ask me when it comes to whatever bookkeeping topic, right? That's a question. So instead of saying, here's 3 tips, da 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 da, you could say that, but you could literally ask a question. Why? Because when we ask a question, somebody listens. Like our brain's like, oh, you just said the word you, you're talking to me and you're asking a question. So it's a little like psychological trick there. And you don't have to like come up with this like hyperbolic, like the biggest mistake my client ever made and lost $10,000 because they didn't da 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 da. You could do that, right? But we're talking simple, right? We just want a simple way to start a video. Simplest way, ask a question, use the word you. The next thing is eye contact. I'm going to show you a picture of me with eye contact. Right now, y'all, I'm on my computer and the computer like camera is like right here, right? But I'm looking at like over here on the thing. Eye contact is so critically important. And here's the thing. Let me try to make myself, well, I'll just do it over here. You'll be able to see it. This little thingy up here on your phone, that's where we need to be looking. Why do we need eye contact? Because that's what accelerates trust in a digital world. We expect people to look at us when we're talking to them. And that might be the one reason somebody sticks around for a few more seconds, and then they may stick around longer. So the eye contact, you know what I did for years? I looked at my own eyes in the reflection of my phone. I didn't know where to look. So I was like down here looking at my eyes right here, but we need to move it up. If you're using the back camera, you can just simply sort of look that way. It's harder to do on a Zoom, but it's really important to make eye contact with the lens, okay? So that's how we're gonna stop the scroll, is getting right into it and the eye contact. Those are pretty easy, okay? Then the next one here is SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. And that's where we're going to add, our hashtags, our keywords. One of the really important things that you need to do is actually say who you're trying to help or what you do. So I saw we had some farm to table people in here. You need to be saying farm to table. You need to be saying words that people are going to want to be searching for. Maybe it's organic or whatever those buzzwords are, but not like jargon, not like internal. I wouldn't be searching for that unless I was in that industry. So you want to be saying that. If you're a realtor, you want to be talking to the person you want to be helping. Are you a first-time home buyer? Are you somebody who is selling your house? Things like that, because it's picking up all of those little keywords that you're saying, that you're typing, and all of those things. And yes, hashtags still work and all of that. And then I'll talk about scannable when I show you. That's better shown with a graphic, and how we basically start conversations by asking questions like I mentioned. So let's look at a picture of this. This is hard to see unless you got a picture, right? First of all, look at the incredible studio production value I have. I'm sitting on the floor of my loft. I do this on purpose because I want people to know that good content doesn't need a studio. It doesn't need good editing. Good editing helps people watch your content longer. But if your content or your message is good, you do not need any of the fancy stuff. So what you do need is to be able to look directly into the camera lens like I'm doing here, and you need some lighting. I'm sitting in front of my window right here. I'm using my phone, and that's it. So when we talk about how are we starting our videos, I talked about those hooks. I usually say a hook if I'm talking. I'm not talking in every one of my videos. But the most important hook, friends, is the one that's on the screen. See where it says how I make my talk to camera reels and why I make them this way? That's actually the most important hook. Why? Because the majority of people that are scrolling through their feeds do not have sound on. 90%, something like that, don't have sound on. Also, really helpful, closed captions, a must. If you are talking in your videos on a story, on a reel, on a TikTok, must have closed captions. One, for inclusivity and accessibility for those users who are unable to hear or hard of hearing, deaf. Also, if you're neurodivergent like me, it's really helpful for me to retain information when I can read it and hear it at the same time. Or you could have your phone off because you're at the airport or you're looking at your phone in hopefully not a meeting, but you're trying to keep it quiet, right? People will not engage, they will not share, they will not comment if you are talking and there is no context that we can consume it with. So it's very important that we have context in the form of text on your screen, okay? Closed captions is one thing that if you're talking, you must have on there. It's built into every platform. It's a button. You can just Google it and learn how to turn it on. This title, this might be the one reason somebody stops their scroll, because we read faster than we can even process hearing. Yes, everything is going to get shared as a replay. Thank you, Kirsten, so much for being here. And I understand if anybody has to go too. We'll try to keep you on time. I might go a few minutes over because I do want to get your questions too. But we need to put that text there so that we can, as people are scrolling, that might catch them, right? So that's actually a really important hook. And then this is a screenshot, not an actual video, but I'm not going to play the video for you. But I wanted to show you my caption, like where all these words are here. You don't have to make a long caption like I do. I like to write, but I do want to let you know how the system and the algorithm works. When you give it very complete information, meaning if you are talking about, your topic and you're educating and you're talking about it in the video and you also give more examples or you talk about it more in depth in the caption, Well, the algorithm is here to serve up the best, most complete, most relevant content. It's like when you go to YouTube and you type in a question that you have, and it shows you the best relevant content. It could be 6 weeks old, it could be 6 years old. And usually they're showing you that content because the question you asked, this person in this video explained it really well and got into detail. So you do not need to do a very lengthy caption, but I want you to know that even if not a human being reads it, the algorithm is reading it, and it's just using that information to, one, figure out what you normally talk about, how I should categorize your content and serve it up to people. And now your content that is old is starting to get surfaced in these social platforms because they're a search engine. And if somebody types in a question or a topic, it's not going to go to the newest. It may go to the newest, but it's really going to go to the most relevant. So those are a few things that are really important when it comes to the videos. Now I want to show you what I was talking about with scannable content here. This happens to be Instagram. It's going to look a little different, obviously, on Facebook, etc. But people are scanning your feed, right? They're not going to go through all my videos and watch my videos. Some people may, but they're just going to scan really quickly. And so here's two things they're looking for when they come to your content. Like, what are you talking about? Is this somebody that can help me solve my problem? Is this a product that can help me solve my problem? Can I see the product? Can I see the food in the restaurant? Can I see the things, right? If you're a personal brand, they're trying to see if you are in fact a trustworthy human, which means I need to see your face and your voice, or your eyes and your face, and hopefully I can hear your voice. But I'm also looking, can I still, if you're a personal brand like the social media manager that's here, can I see what you talk about? Are you giving me social media tips, right? This happens in a second. We go boop, 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 and we look at it. And then sometimes we're like, yep, I'm going to follow this person, or nope, I'm not going to follow this person. So this first few seconds impression does matter because people want to be able to see what you're all about. So very small but very powerful tip is, if you're talking in your videos, or even if you're not talking in your videos, can I scan your content and see what your content's about? If it's recipes, do I know what kind of recipes? Do I know what you do, what the products are? Because people aren't going to waste their time, right? They're just going to like skim and scan and go through, right? So when it comes to videos, it's important to have that text, or like a video title, some people call it a cover photo, on the actual content so people can scan. All right, so let me stop the share. Let's go dive into some questions here. Sierra says, should the post still be word heavy for the algorithm? The post itself, can have words. Like sometimes you can put a picture there and you can put text over it. Or if you're going to Canva and you're making something that's like tip based and it's just text, that is fine. Or you don't have to have text over the picture. If I'm doing like a vacation dump or a photo dump or something like that, and I don't have pictures on it, that's perfectly fine. You can put that information in the caption. So a couple of things that help with searchability and discoverability. One, hashtags or slash keywords. You want to put in words that you know people are going to search for, that are related to what you do, your service, or your product. If you're location-based, which I'm pretty sure most, if not all of you are, location-based hashtags. Location tagging is really important because people who are going to come and purchase your item or come work with you in person, that's going to be something that they're searching for. So hashtags, closed captions, location tags, but you don't have to write a novel. I'm wordy. I like to write novels and give more examples. That's just my vibe. But I would say if you're not putting any caption in there, I would say now it's helpful to put in some more details because the algorithm reads all of it. It's seeing what you're talking about and the words that you're using, and it is helpful. Do you know how to get back an Instagram account that's been removed? Oh no, I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, the support is just almost non-existent over at Meta. So I don't know if this is recent or not, but I pay for Meta Verified. The only reason I started paying for it is because I was having a lot of people pretending to be me. So that was one reason, but I also wanted a direct line to the inbox. So what you could do, and yeah, it's going to cost a little bit of money, like $13 or $15, something like that. You could get verified on Facebook, or if you have another Instagram account and you still have access to that, you can get verified on it. You can go directly to the support inbox and say, hey, Can you help me with this other account? May or may not solve the problem, but that's something. If it's been a while, probably not. I just wish there was a better way to do it. That's why it's really important that everybody needs to put on two-factor authentication. You can Google that, two-factor authentication on all of your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything in all of them. Specifically on Instagram, there's a little hidden feature that once you turn on your two-factor authentication in the same spot where you turned that on, after you turn it on, it says like advanced or something like that. You click on advanced and they have something called backup codes. And it's like 6 long digit codes. And if anything weird happens, you can directly go to Instagram to their Instagram hacked help page and they will say, do you have a backup code? And then that's how some people have gotten back in. So I'm sorry that that happened to you. All right, last question. Linda, how do you stay on camera if you're only using a phone to record? Great question. Do I have it? Do I have it here in front of me? I don't think I have it, but let me make sure. I want to pull it up. I want to put it in the chat so you can see it. There's this cool little handy dandy tool thing because I was using like the back, I sometimes use the back camera. A lot of people record with the selfie style, but if you want to use the back camera, which is a higher quality, you're like, well, where am I? Right? There's this little thing that you can buy and it magnetizes to your phone. And it's a little screen and you Wi-Fi connect it to each other. And I think it's kind of pricey. It's like 50 bucks, 59 bucks for this little thing. And it sits right here and it basically is the camera. So you can see yourself, which is awesome. But if you don't want to spend that kind of money, you could literally get an old-fashioned mirror. Like you could put the mirror up sort of like behind the phone so you can kind of see yourself. If you don't want to use the selfie version where it's like so you can see yourself if you're using the back camera. The name of the brand, let me actually put my link in here so you guys can follow me on Instagram. The brand for the mirror device for video. I just went to Amazon. Let me just make sure. Oh, let me make sure this is the right brand. I have it on my resource page on my website too, but I think the brand, oh my gosh, this Grammarly thing, turn, quit, Grammarly.
Well, and Chelsea, if you want to take pressure off yourself, we will do a follow-up to everybody. And so we can put the link right in that follow-up email if that's
Yay!
cool. So
Yeah, it's a really handy dandy little tool. And I was like, where have I been? Like, this is the coolest little thing I've ever seen. But you can also go old school and just put like a mirror, like aligned sort of with your camera, and then you can kind of see yourself in it. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tanya and Cami. And thank you for being willing to send everything out to everybody with the wrap up too.
yes, and I believe we had one more question come
I'm
through.
so sorry. Did I miss one?
Um,
Okay.
well, yeah, not a problem. They were wondering, they have both a personal page and a business page. How would you navigate that? Because some people have heard the algorithm pushes the personal rather than the business.
Yeah. I have a business page on Facebook like everybody, right? And I honestly can't tell you the last time that I posted on it. So personal page stuff on Facebook is going to get pushed out more. And they ran out of room in the feed a long time ago. And that's why they did the boost button so that you could pay to play and get your stuff out in more feeds. So I would say it's a really optimized free website. You can have testimonials and star ratings there. If you're a local business, people can see other local people. I would not get rid of the Facebook business page. It's a website, right? You don't need to probably spend as much time. You could probably go and schedule some posts and, have that kind of done for you, but you will get more reach and engagement from your personal human, page. And if you're going to, look at people's Facebook stories and their Facebook posts, your clients, your past clients and current clients, I would say probably the personal messaging from you would be more of that human connection versus the business. But yeah, I hear ya. Yeah, I wouldn't like get rid of it, but it's a struggle. Yeah, you can tag your business page too. You can also share from one to another, but yeah, you're not making it up. It's a real thing. All right. Cami, Tanya, anything else you want to add for today?
Yes, thank you so much, Chelsea. If anyone feels the same way as me, I have a lot of tips that I'm walking away with. So now that I'm allowed to talk with my hands again, that's going to be awesome. I was in a stereotype that, you keep your hands down by your side, like podium style. So that and eye contact. There was so many tips. And thank you, Chelsea, for being with us today. For those that are still on, fun announcement, Chelsea will be back with us. She will be back on March 6th, same kind of style of webinar. So if you want to get a second opportunity to see our Marketech keynote live, join us again. I'm going to encourage you to go to grownebraska.org and visit our upcoming trainings and register there. You can do it today if you want. It's already up there. The topic is going to be about mastering social media. And you're going to want to be live for that because I have a feeling that Chelsea is going to tailor it just like she did today with the comments. And so if you really want to get good tips specific for your business, make sure you mark out March 6th. Also, Market Tech, we can't shout it out enough. She's going to be here March 25th, March 26th in Kearney, markettechconference.com, and register. We have some contact information on the screen. Feel free to reach out to Tanya and I if you have any questions, want to know more about Grow Nebraska. And we will follow up with everyone who registered with an email that has some helpful links and the recording. And if you don't know this, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you can be the first to know anytime we post our training videos. And we have trainings at least 3 times a month, everybody. So again, thank you so much. Tomorrow we do have another training coming up. It'll be same time, kind of same place. So get registered. We have our Google expert coming and it's going to be about getting customers now and how you can utilize all of the online presence to really get your customers. And so with that, thanks again for staying on. And we look forward to having Chelsea back.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.